Alright, so there's been some huge discourse on social media, Twitter, YouTube, about Classic Sonic and whether he should still be around, because obviously Superstars is the upcoming game. People are making videos on it, people are making tweets, of course, and it's gotten pretty vicious because, again, it's Sonic, right? And on top of that, we got some brand new Sonic Superstars info, so we're going to get to all of this right now. But if you subscribe to the channel already, please make sure to subscribe, okay? So we're going to quickly go through the Sonic Superstars info. It's basically 3 new tracks that have dropped, music tracks from the game, and we're going to go through that, and then we can discuss this Classic Sonic topic, because I got a lot of shit to say, and people have been pissing me off for some of the things they've been saying, so let's just go straight into this, okay? So it says here, breaking, Sonic Superstars music has been found in a recently released LEGO Sonic browser game. The game has a few tracks, including Bridge Island Zone Act 1, embedded below. Also, they're making like browser games again, I guess. Like, remember the Flash game era, the 2000s? They make like a Flash game to promote an upcoming game. Kind of cool that they're making a browser game. But nonetheless, let's go through this footage and let's listen to this music and see what it's saying. Man, it's catchy. Obviously, I'll link it in the description so you can listen to the full thing, but I'm fucking with this. But you see, it's actually kind of interesting because I feel like it didn't sound this way before, you know? I don't think it sounded this way before, because like, if you remember, if you recall, Jun Senoue was doing the soundtrack. I feel like they brought in T-Lopes later to come and improve what Jun Senoue did, because if you listen to earlier versions of this like song, it sounded a lot simpler, a lot more basic, a lot more Sonic 4-y, but like, I think T-Lopes went in and like touched the shit up, because this sounds way more funky. Alright, next up is Sonic Superstars title theme, which plays over this game's results screen after you defeat the Lego boss. So this is the title theme of Superstars, okay. Definitely T-Lopes, definitely T-Lopes. I think it loops after that. Yeah, pretty solid title theme. And then it says, finally have a more retro themed track. If it is from Superstars, we don't know what it goes to yet. So this is the one that was causing all the discourse. This was the one. So we'll play this one now. This is the one causing all the discourse. Because Jun Senoue keeps using those drums that are meant to sound like they were from Sonic 2, basically. The ones that we heard in Sonic 4 that gets people's knickers in a twist. Okay? Now, it's not bad. It's not bad, but it sounds like Sonic 4. Okay, it sounds like Sonic 4. People have noticed how these things are starting to sound like Sonic 4, like in terms of melody. But I mean, Jun Senoue did Sonic 4's OST. Here's another one that compares them. I love this song, by the way. Like, I love Sonic 4 soundtrack. I know people don't like that soundtrack. I love Sonic 4 soundtrack. Okay, like, it's like, I put it over CD. I know people are gonna get mad at me for saying that, but I'm not really the biggest CD soundtrack fanboy. Like, I love the other classic Sonic soundtracks more than Sonic 4, but just not CD. Okay, but like, I get it. People don't like the drums, the sound font, or whatever. But I was fine with it. I really enjoyed it. I don't think every game needs to sound like that, though. I don't think Superstars, especially with its kind of like 3D graphics, needs to sound like this, you know? I think it should be more like what T-Lopes is doing, like with this song here. This is just so much better, right? But yeah, I think even because Bridge Island definitely sounded way more basic before. I think T-Lopes is touching up these songs one by one, and I'm guessing this one hasn't gotten the T-Lopes treatment yet. And I'm hoping that like what T-Lopes is basically doing is just touching them up, and then by the time it's released, all of the songs have been touched up, and it's not a case of Jun Sonoe has a bunch of them that T-Lopes hasn't touched, and we have to hear quality differences between the two. I don't want to hear that. I want T-Lopes to fix everything. Jun Sonoe is good at making these melodies. Like Sonic 4, like OST, all the melodies are great, but it's obviously like if we could touch them up in terms of the production, then it'll be great. Like Solid Foundation, like this is a good melody, but like if T-Lopes comes and takes this, fixes it up, it'll be a lot better. So let's just hope that's what happens, because with the two of them working on the soundtrack, you know, there could be some heat, but we'll see what happens. But on to the big talk. Oh, wait, no, one more thing. Okay. People are hardcore defending the song, saying that non-Sonic fans think it sounds good, so Sonic fans should shut the fuck up. Non-Sonic fans aren't buying the game. I don't know what kind of argument that is. I get that they want to defend Jun Sonoe, but like, look, Jun Sonoe a legend. He did Heroes OST, Adventure 1, Adventure 2. He a legend regardless. But like, when it comes to his fake classics games like Sonic 4 and whatnot, he's had some issues, okay? That's just how Sonic goes, okay? Like, if we look at Dimps, they had their run. Advance 1, 2, 3, Original Rush, they were untouchable. Then they started to slow down a bit. Rush Adventure was cool. Then Cosmos was like, and then it went to Gens 3DS and Lost 3. Then it was a wrap after that. Like, they had their ups and their downs, okay? That's just how it is. Jun Sonoe had his peak. Otani did 06 and Unleashed. Otani was peaking. Now he EDMifies everything, like Cyberspace and Frontier. Everyone had their peak. Izuka made Heroes, right? He made Hero. He made the GOAT. And then he slowed down. Like, it's cool. We accept it. Drake made Take Care. He's not making that no more. Cool. Anyway, let's get onto this classic Sonic topic, because I know people want to hear about this shit, okay? I want to play some footage in the background just so it's not boring, but should classic Sonic die? Should Superstars have just been a modern game? Should we never see classic Sonic's smug, fake, cutesy face again? Alright? Now, there's two sides that we can tackle this from, alright? There's my personal opinion, right, as a Sonic fan, like just as a person who cares about Sonic. And then there's the more what makes sense for the general audience, like what makes sense as a business for Sega, yada yada yada, that kind of shit. Like, you know, I'm not the only person in the world, my opinion's not the only opinion that matters, bullshit, right? So, in terms of my personal opinion, kill classic Sonic, burn him. I never want to see his smug, fake, cutesy model ever again, especially not in 3D graphics. Especially not in 3D graphics. Sprites, debatable. If they're making a Sonic version of Super Mario Maker, then yes, put him in there for Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles. That makes sense. But aside from that, I never want to see his face again, okay? But, okay, remove my own personal opinions from the mold, right? Could there be a way that he should exist from a business standpoint, okay? I guess I haven't seen the sales figures, right? We've got sales figures for, like, Mania, like little, like, bits of sales figures, but nothing concrete. We know that, obviously, Forces sold more than Mania, but not by that much, let's be real. We know that, what's it called? Frontiers is selling over 3 million units at this point, which is more than any classic Sonic game recently. And that brings me to something that I want to talk about, which I actually had to write down because there's a lot of points. I'm calling it the 3 lies about classic Sonic, because some of you lot just be saying shit to defend classic Sonic's honor, to make it seem like he's better than modern Sonic. But what you're saying is not fucking true, okay? So, let's go through lie number 1. Lie number 1 is that classic Sonic is more successful than modern Sonic. That's not true, okay? It's simply not true. What are the highest selling Sonic games of all time? Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, not including Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, which I believe outsold Sonic 2. But Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 are the highest selling Sonic games of all time, right? Both were bundled in with the Sega Genesis, bundled in with the hardware. It came with the system. It's Wii Sports, okay? Sonic 3 and Knuckles moved similar, if not less, units than the highest selling modern Sonic games, which modern Sonic didn't have the luxury of being packed in with the system, minus Sonic Adventure 1, which Sonic Adventure 2 came out at the end of the Dreamcast era, so that wasn't packed in. But Adventure 1, I believe, moved like at least 2-3 million units on the Dreamcast. That was packed in with the system. But after that, There are Sonic games that moved 3 million units, okay, that were modern, that were not bundled with the system, that still did those numbers. Unleashed did crazy numbers. Yes, it was on the Wii, obviously, so it's going to have a benefit. Like, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on Switch is going to sell more than Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U. That makes sense. But there are multiple instances of Sonic games that are modern that sold more than Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is the classic game that wasn't a bundle with the system. So this idea that Classic Sonic is somehow just the big money maker, not true, okay? It's just simply not true. Pack-in bias, okay? So we've established that Classic is not more successful than Modern when it comes to who can sell a game right now. And even like with recently, or like Mania and Forces sold more than Mania, even though everyone knows Mania was the better game by far. I'm a Modern fan, I'll tell you Mania was the better game, right? When they first got revealed, I wanted to hear more about Forces, or back then, Project 2017, and I didn't want to hear much about Mania because I didn't care, it was a classic game. And then as the gameplay came out, I was like, nah, this game too fire, I can't, like, it looks flames, I want it now. And then Forces became the annoying one, okay? Arguably, I mean, they both had Classic Sonic in them, to be fair, if you want to play that card, but no one was buying Forces for Classic Sonic. I think only Sega thought that would happen. Nonetheless, let's go to the second major lie about Classic Sonic. The second major lie about Classic Sonic is that he's more consistent than Modern Sonic in quality. This is the big one, okay? Because people put on their rose-tinted goggles and go, the classics are perfect, Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles, and CD, some people think that's perfect somehow. And then, like, no, okay? Consistency and quality, at the end of the day, they're models, okay? Like, the gameplay is obviously, you know, similar. Like if you have a classic model, you're gonna have more classic gameplay, and if you use the modern model, you can do more things like experiment and innovate, which is what Modern Sonic has been trying to do, or he did more of in the 2000s. But at the end of the day, quality is up to the developers, right? Obviously, Modern had a lot more games in the 2000s, so there were more opportunities for blunders, because he had the big main series games, he had the spin-off racing games, you had the side games, you had a lot of games in the 2000s, right? But if we look at the main series, the main blunder was really 06. I mean, Unleashed didn't do well with critics. It did well with fans, obviously. But the main blunder for Modern Sonic in the 2000s was 06. Okay, that was the main flop, right? Shadow, technically a spin-off, right? Storybook games, if you want to go there, that was Sonic Team, so we can argue that. But it was mainly 06. Let's be real. The rest of the games in the 2000s, there were side games and all sorts of things. Yes, not every side game was well received. Even Riders didn't get an amazing review score. But there were blunders in side projects. But if you want to go to Classic Sonic's defense, I mean, at the end of the day, the 90s had a lot of random non-Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles CD games that were not the greatest. The Sonic Drift games were not critically acclaimed. Sonic R was not critically acclaimed. Sonic... what the fuck's the name of that mid? Sonic Blast, Sonic Labyrinth. Classic Sonic was not like you put his face on any game and it was critically acclaimed, right? If you want to bring in the side games to, you know, put down Modern Sonic, then you got to bring up, you know, the same shit for Classic Sonic, right? So if we're going like 90s to 2000s, they both had their blunders, okay? Modern Sonic had high-rated games too. SA1, SA2, both very highly rated games. Heroes, at least on the GameCube, was highly rated. But at the end of the day, this idea that Classic Sonic is some perfect, consistent thing, you know, is not true. And then when you add the 2010s to it, Classic Sonic just kept fucking up. Like, I mean, Classic Sonic and Gens was fine, obviously, but I did the poll and I asked people, and they all said Modern was better, right? Like, let me go to the poll right now. I did a poll here. I said, which Sonic do you prefer in general, and which Sonic do you prefer in Generations, right? And yes, it's my own viewership. It's 10,000 votes, and yes, most people said they prefer Modern Sonic in general and they prefer Modern Sonic in Generations. But if you look at the people that prefer Classic Sonic in general, the majority of them, aka 80% of them, 12% plus 3%, 80% of them said that out of those who preferred Classic Sonic in general, they still preferred Modern Sonic in Generations. Only 20% of people that prefer Classic Sonic in general said that Classic Sonic was the better part of Generations. So, just something to put into context here, right? This idea that Classic Sonic is always pristine, I don't think is true, okay? Too many side projects prove that they can both have blunders and they can both have hits. It's about the developers at the end of the game. At the end of the day, not the end of the game. Final lie about Classic Sonic that people like to perpetuate. His presence sells games. Not true at all. Quality products sell games and good marketing, obviously, right? Mania didn't sell crazy, let's be real, but it was a quality product. But I mean, Sega's never been the best for marketing. Mania's marketing wasn't the greatest. I mean, you had the nice trailers with the music and the hyper potions, but I mean, they could have done more. But at the end of the day, quality products and good marketing sells games. Not Classic Sonic's cutesy face. Mania could have used Sonic 4 sprites, and it still could have been a hit, okay? I'm just saying, like, not Sonic 4 sprite, it wasn't sprites, but it could have used modern Sonic sprites, and it would have been a hit. I'm not saying it should have, I'm just making a point, alright? IGN gave Sonic 4 an 8 out of 10, and it didn't have a Classic Sonic model in it. They just really liked the game, and they gave it an 8 out of 10. I mean, they were probably just desperate for nostalgia, let's be real, but they still did that, okay? Sonic Pocket Adventure, when did that come out, right? That came out in, like, 2000, right? And it was basically a classic Sonic game in everything but sprites, right? If we look at Sonic Pocket Adventure right now, it's a game that, yeah, came out 99 December for the Neo Geo Pocket, and it basically rips off classic Sonic zones, but then it uses the modern Sonic model, right? Basically cyberspace. But yeah, 10 out of 10 on IGN, right? They liked the game, even with the modern model, they still gave it a 10 out of 10. The point is that his presence doesn't sell games. Quality products sell games. Nostalgia can help. Seeing zones they've seen before can trigger nostalgia, which is probably why Sonic 4 got an 8 out of 10, and you know, it wasn't really warranted. But at the end of the day, the gameplay is what is important. So, based on that data, I don't think there's really a major reason for Classic to keep existing unless the demand is really and truly there. And the only way to know that for sure is to do like a back-to-back comparison, right? Like, let's say they were to drop a classic 2D game and then a modern 2D game maybe a year or two later, and then compare the sales. And assuming they're both of, I guess, similar quality, whichever one sells the most proves which design should stay. I don't know, right? You could admit that the classic fans are a minority and just be like, we still want to cater to that minority even though they are a minority, so we'll still throw them a game here or there. But to me, it's kind of like Crash Bandicoot, where Insane Trilogy moved over 10 million units because it was remaking the trilogy of games that were hugely successful in the PlayStation 1. But then when they made Crash 4, which a lot of Crash fans would argue is better than the trilogy, I disagree, but a lot of Crash fans do, it didn't sell anywhere near as much as Insane Trilogy because it was a new, fully priced game, and there was no nostalgia attached to it, right? So that's why they did like the old zones in Mania, like, oh, if we put Green Hill and Chemical Pump, we can bring back that casual market at the end of the day. But if you're relying on nostalgia to sell these games, and they're not remakes of old games, but they're supposed to be new games, maybe you should just make something that's new and quality and get people to show up because it's new and quality, right? I don't know. I feel like the whole classic thing has been blown out of proportion. I feel like it doesn't need to exist, and if they just rely on making something quality, then it doesn't need to come back. If the classic games are outselling the modern games by like huge margins, then I'll be like, well, clearly the market wants that. But so far, we haven't seen that. But I guess we'll see how Superstars performs compared to Sonic Frontiers. Will people show up for it? Will that casual audience of classic fans who haven't played a Sonic game since Sonic 2 or maybe Mania, will they show up and pay $60 for the base version of this game? Or will they not show up and pay $60? Will they wait for a sale? Only time will tell. I know how I feel personally, but as for the business side of it, I'd have to look at all the data and all the numbers which we don't have access to really make that executive decision on whether Classic Sonic should stay. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. How do you feel about Classic Sonic? Do you think he should stay? Do you think he should go? Do you think it makes sense from a business standpoint? And do you want it personally? Because I think Classic Sonic is just holding back new elements because they want to keep it the way it was in the 90s. And to be honest, I'm not a fan of that. I want them to add new things. You know, I'm glad they added Rail Grind into this game, but I'm just saying there's a lot more modern things they could have done if they were making a modern game, which we won't see. Izuka went on record or interview to say that Shadow wouldn't be in the game because he's not from the classic era. If it was a modern game, that wouldn't be an issue, and that's why I don't like the classic thing. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. And of course, make sure to check out the non-Sonic channel. The link would be in the description, and check me out on Kick as well for Premulous. I want to do some Street Fighter content on there, maybe some Crash Team Rumble and some other stuff. So if you want to see like a lot of Street Fighter shit, I'm trying to get affiliate on here. I'm trying to get 75 followers on my Kick, so let me know. Make sure you check that out. But yeah, man, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. So yeah, the Remy out.